Om Namah Shivaya. Harihi Om. Now we were discussing what the essential ingredients of dhatu are, right? The essential ingredients that are required to make a good, tasty word. What are they? First of all, the dhatu is the most important of all words in Sanskritam. It is the life force that is breathed into every meaningful word, subanta or tinganta. Now, because we don't have the word nga in English, I have used the word n, and sometimes people also want to use the tilde followed by g for it's not tiganta, neither is it tinanta or is it nor is it tidanta. Okay, it is ti nga nta ti nganta. Okay, ti nga ganga nga tinganta. Get that right. Then it is the life force that is breathed into every meaningful word. So almost all of these words in Sanskritam, I would say at least classical Sanskritam, are derived from dhatus, and these dhatus, and hence knowing what these dhatus are and what their meanings are, you can and by knowing what the how the pratyaya changes its meaning when it is worked operated on any other dhatu, you can make out the meaning of the daughter word, right? You know the father, you know the mother, you know the dhatu, you know the pratyaya. So you can almost make by addition what the meaning of the daughter word is. That is how almost many of the words in Sanskritam are very easy to understand. Once you know the dhatu and once you know some basic rules of grammar and then the knowledge of the pratyayas. But that does not mean every such word can be derived and is a derivative of a dhatu. No, there are some orphans also in the world. Similarly, you have many other orphan words which do not have a particular, which do not originate from a particular dhatu, nor do they originate from a particular pratyaya. So these orphans are many in number, although not as many as the number of well-to-do parent having children. But now you see, now this is a general rule that if you know the dhatus and their meanings, it is very helpful for you. Then it is the raw material, the crude element, the ore, the main dish, the vegetables, cereals, pulses, fruits, and millets that you need for making a word. It is represented by the prakriti aspect in the duo of prakriti and pratyaya. So prakriti, that is what is naturally available, right? These crude elements, vegetables, fruits, all of these, so we associate dhatu with prakriti because it is unchanged. I mean, it is non-polished, unrefined, as it is available and very natural. That is called dhatu, and hence prakriti. Pratyaya means taking it somewhere else, which means refining it, giving it another meaning, giving it another perspective. Pratyaya. So that is prakriti pratyaya. Most words are reducible into this duo, prakriti or pratyaya, if it is a derivative. Okay, so that is very important. Like in mathematics, you say if the solution exists, then you start finding what the solution is. If the solution still does not exist, there's no point in finding a method, a solution to the problem, to an equation. Pratyaya are suffixes, the sides, the spices, the garnishments, decorations added to the dhatu to enrich the dhatu. Okay, because the dhatu are ores, crude elements, you need to refine its meaning, right, to suit the meaning that you want to convey, to suit the idea that you want to convey through a sentence. So that is why pratyayas are needed. Now this is very similar to the concept of Prakriti and Purusha in Sankhya philosophy, right? The seer and the seen, the drik and the drishya. Yeah, you can make such comparisons and map because it will increase your nerve capacity also. I mean, the nerve linkages in your brain. Bhaskara, for example, the word Bhaskaraha. Okay, now that is made up of Bha, which is the dhatu, S, which is again one of the pratyayas. Then Kara is actually made from a dhatu again called Kr, which by rules of grammar changes to Kar. and then it is made up of the a in the bhaskara, that is made up from a pratyaya called ta. So then from that, and again the sup pratyaya, the visarga comes from the sup pratyaya su, the prathama purusha ekavachana, prathama vibhakti ekavachana. So with the help of Astadhyayi or the rules of grammar acting as the catalyst, it brings in the two reactants, Prakriti and Pratyaya, the Dhatu and the Pratyayas together, and you get a resultant product, which is the word Bhaskaraha. So there, Bha and Kra are the Dhatus are called the Prakritis, and the rest are the Pratyayas. And how it transforms from Kra to Kar again is through the rules of grammar. Then Sa, Ta and Su are the Pratyayas. Next, the word Vach, which is the collection of all letters, Akshara or Varna, is in an arranged sequence. This is the collection of letters. So Vak or Vach is the word which is made up of Varnas, right? It is also referred to as Shabda. She is mapped to the feminine aspect called Prakriti. This is Prakriti is different again, okay? This is from the Sankhya philosophy, exactly. So this is Shabda or Vak. You say Nada Bindu, right? So there the sound aspect is the waves, the vibrations is mapped to Prakriti, the feminine aspect. Thus, a word is Vach, a letter is Vach, a sentence is Vach, a dhatu is Vach, everything is Vach. Okay, now here Vach means this is not just the Prakriti that we have spoken of here in the Dhatu Prakriti. This is a different Prakriti where this Prakriti is related mapped to the cosmic feminine aspect, the universal mother, you say, no? The Para Shakti, that is called the Prakriti here. So this Vach emerges from Prakriti. This is the philosophical background to what we are going to discuss further. The entire books and literature of all Sanskritam or throughout history are all Vach. Hence, a synonym for literature or a corpus of knowledge is called Vangmaya. Okay, made up of Vak. That's the literal meaning of Vangmaya. Because literature is nothing but words, essays, letters, morphemes, all of that, which is everything is Vak. So it is called Vangmaya. Then anything expressed through human sound in Sanskritam or otherwise is called Shabda. Hence, the vast knowledge expressed through sounds, mantras, shlokas, etc. are also called Shabda Brahman. Brahma means the vastness. So the vastness of sound or Shabda is called Shabda Brahma, which is again an anthropomorphic idea of conceiving God as being made up of these sounds, these vibrations, these mantras and shlokas, all of that. It is called Shabda Brahma. Again, Shabda Brahma is another synonym for the Veda. Okay. Then meanings. After Vach, which is the word, we know we have to know what the meaning is for conveying. Right. The purpose of language is communication, and for communication you need two things. One, the idea, and then the physical manifestation of that idea, which is Vach. Hence, the physical aspect of anything is feminine in nature, which is called the Prakriti, and the underlying, the behind the scenes idea, the philosophical concept, the meaning, or the question, the desire, all of that which happens within the mind, within the subject, is called Artha, which is related to hence the Purusha, the masculine concept. Okay, in Sankhya, the mind or the seer is said to be the Purusha, and everything which is seen is said to be Prakriti. Similarly, here even in language, we are trying to fit in the concept of Artha and Vach into Prakriti and Purusha. Is solely mapped to the masculine concept of Purusha. All meanings, whether it be literal, figurative, synonyms, antonyms, double entendre, then subtle meanings, suggested meanings, profound, shallow, interpretations, commentaries, visualization, understanding, comprehension, knowledge, retention, memory, experience, intuition, insight, all of that. Okay, whatever happens within the brain or the mind or within myself, we see it, all of these are closely related to me, I. So that is Purusha. Here Purusha does not mean male body with the female, with the male reproductive organs, no. Or Prakriti does not mean with the female reproductive organs, no. Just stick to the definition. So all of whatever happens within the mind is said to be Purusha, which constitutes the Artha. And hence Artha also has synonyms like Bodha, understanding, Jnana, knowledge, experience, Darsha or seeing. Okay, all of that is Artha. So Vag Artha viva sampraktau Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau, which is why Kalidasa also tries to bring in the Sankhyan philosophy into his kavyas when he says Vak and Artha are like mother and father, because father gives the seed. So the seed, that is the idea, the knowledge is the father masculine concept. Then you have the mother who builds on the seed, who nourishes the seed, who gives a physical form to the seed, which is why Vak is the Prakriti, is the Parvati, is the feminine mother. Okay, you see that? It is wonderful, right? At least for me it is. So in the next class we shall see what the padas are, then itva, karmatva, and we shall see each of these concepts, characteristics in greater detail. Okay, dhanyavada.